All right, welcome to the Let It Fly show. I am Michael Sevier, joined by Josh Jones, three-time state champion, of course, Omaha Central, right here, this cup, right here. And, of course, just moved like about 4 feet down the hill.
Not
Creighton.
even 4, bro.
It's that little stretch between where the stadium is built now and where that dorm is.
You know
it's
what?
like right there.
I'm shaking my head because I used to get my ass roasted in the lunchroom. You know, people bag at lunch.
Yeah.
They was like, "You so stupid, bro. You like going to Central next year, like, because I'm close."
Because you're that close. Yeah. You go on to Central, that costs a whole lot more money if you had to pay. No doubt about that. We were recording, of course, inside an elevated sports bar known as the Let It Fly Sports Bar here in the Capital District of Omaha, Nebraska. We have a really fun show.
We do.
And we want to do this for a couple of weeks. Creighton's added a bunch of folks in the portal.
Yep.
Bringing some people in from high school, too. It's going to be almost a new team. So we're going to break that down. Jon Walker from Omaha World-Herald. He's going to join us to go over that. And then hopefully next week we can grab somebody from Nebraska to talk about another portal class that's pretty big as well. I want to remind you of all the specials that are happening here constantly. We tape this on a Tuesday, Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
If it's a Wednesday, you got Dollar Wing Wednesday.
Dollar Wing, yep.
Exactly. And then, of course, on Thursday,
it's the water
steak and
fries.
I
was about to talk about the margaritas.
Oh, margaritas all day long. You get the Red Bull watermelon margarita.
Yeah, I'm mad that I'm on here for drawing blanks on stuff I know.
And then on Friday it's French Dip Friday as well.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course you got the reverse happy hour, the regular happy hour, and of course the show brought to you by Bud Light. What's Bud Light?
Always easy.
It's easy to drink. And easy to enjoy no matter what you're doing.
I know that.
Bud Light, our sponsor here of the show. We appreciate them for being here. Let's do some headlines.
Let's get it.
Okay. We could start with the NBA and the playoffs.
All right.
But we have to start with Jordan Ball.
We'll take that.
Jordy Ball.
Yep.
So I interviewed her when I was working in Papillion. I interviewed her twice. First time was right out for the second national championship at Oklahoma. And then when she made the decision that she was going to come here in the portal, her and her dad came on and we did the interview there in Papillion. And the one thing I knew about her the first time I interviewed her was her absolute confidence. And in order, in my opinion, to be able to go from expectations and then to fulfill expectations, you have to have extreme confidence.
For sure.
And there was an expectation of her coming here and being really good.
Yeah.
She came here and she's great.
Right.
That is, you know how hard that is to do?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the ones who do that, I just think they obsessed with winning.
Yeah.
You know, that's the best way to put it.
She is.
You know, it's the golden standard of why the program is the program.
Yeah.
You know, like you only go get the people. And my thing is, I want to pick the brain of the recruiters. Like, how do y'all go after people like that?
How do you find that person?
Yeah.
Because you can't put the heart on a scale.
No.
You can put everything else, you can run, jump, and all that, but you can't judge somebody's fortitude.
Yeah.
And she has incredible fortitude.
I know.
So there was a discussion. Has she had maybe the best season of anybody. Nebraska athlete? Right? John Bishop
I think we kind of talked about this before.
The idea behind that would be, okay, if they advance to the College World Series in Oklahoma City, if they
you mean just advance?
If they get to that, there's an argument. Because the people that I always say, okay, Ndamukong Suh, but obviously Ndamukong Suh didn't win a national championship.
No.
Right? But he won every award, should have won the Heisman, had some of the greatest stats for defensive tackle ever. Right?
Yep, 100%.
You got a guy like Tommy Frazier.
Yes.
They won two national championships, runner-up another time, did a lot of different things, right? So he's a guy you can talk about.
Yep.
Jordan Burroughs.
Yep.
Wrestling, one of the greatest college wrestlers of all time, did a lot of things.
I'm following you.
There's a guy named Hartung, the gymnast. Right? Jim Hartung, one of the greatest gymnasts in the history of gymnastics at the college level. She has a chance to be the best player in terms of getting the best award, right? The best pitcher in the Big Ten, the best hitter in the Big Ten, right? Player overall.
I know.
And if she can take them to a place that they've only been one time before, I think that puts her in a position where you could say maybe arguably it's the greatest season by a Nebraska athlete of all time.
So I don't argue that. I'll do one step further. You got to put her in a conversation of some of the greatest athletes in the sport.
Oh, in terms of softball. Now, see, that's hard because places like UCLA,
Stanford,
Hell, Louisiana Tech when they were good.
Right.
They had some of the most dominant softball. Even Peaches James, who of course was here at Nebraska, Peaches, her pitching numbers were incredible.
I'm just thinking about,
but she didn't hit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Here, look at it. So hitting wise, 3 games this weekend. She went 2 for 2 with 5 RBIs in game 1.
Right.
She had 3 runs scored, 2 home runs. Game 2, 1 for 1. They walked her 3 times. She scored 2 runs, RBI, and a home run. And then the last game, 2 for 2, 3 runs scored, 2 walks, RBI, and led off the bottom of the first with a home run.
If this was the 90s, she'd be on steroids, huh? She'd be on steroids,
they would be asking that question. Yeah. She's essentially Barry Bonds.
I know.
Where they
That's
either
my
walked
point.
her
This
or she hit a home run.
This is another hit Barry Bonds.
They either walked or she hit a home run. Yeah, it's an incredible performance she's had. It's the one sport, really, outside of hockey.
I know.
Where if one person is having their best game, week, season, you can win a championship.
Right.
You stand on your head as a goalie in hockey, you can win a championship.
Right.
As a pitcher, in this sport, where you can go repetitive days and pitch 3 or 4 innings, you can carry a team.
Right.
And we've seen it.
Yep. John Scanes. Who? Scanes from, is that LSU? From the
no. You're talking about, not threw me off, man.
Are
you talking about from last year?
Yeah, the College World Series?
Yeah, not 2 years ago.
2 years ago. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah. The one, Olivia Dunn's boyfriend.
Yeah. Man.
The Pittsburgh Pirates right now.
I've never seen nobody play like that.
Yeah, you can be that dominant and you can win. But even more in softball because he can't turn around and pitch the next day. She can pitch Friday. She can pitch Saturday.
Yeah, that's crazy.
She can give you some pitching Sunday.
I'm following you,
which
bro.
is incredible.
Yeah.
Because you're going underarm opposed to overarm.
For sure.
Yeah, Paul Skeens.
Paul
Skeens, yeah.
Skeens.
Now my brain was like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay, NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
Tonight it kicks off. So by the time this drops tomorrow, we already know the first game. Minnesota, Oklahoma City.
Crazy.
Oklahoma City is last time I looked was minus 380 to win the series. That is a huge favorite.
They're going to step on Minnesota.
You think it's that big of a difference?
They're going to step on them.
Really?
I think so because of SGA, his poise, his experience.
I got Minnesota covering tonight, so I don't know what's
I respect that, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think that just the poise and the maturity and the consistency. Sometimes, this is what I learned about NBA basketball. It's like NFL football. You got that window.
Sure.
And this is that window of this team where they've been so consistent with MVP voting for SGA.
Yep.
They've been so consistent with winning, being the first place team. Not overall to the Cavs. That's a different story. But like they've been the best team, And
defensively, they're incredible.
Exactly. So and they're only getting older. They're young. They're gonna step on Minnesota.
Yeah. And you may be right. And you may be right. You may be right. But Minnesota so far is cruised. Right? And no one's given them any chance. 3-1 chance for a team to win a series. That's a big favorite.
I know, bro.
That's the kind of favorite the Celtics are coming in. And you know what happened to the Celtics? They lost.
But Tatum got hurt too.
Hey, they were down 3. They were down 7 points with a minute left in the game to go down 3-1 when he got hurt.
So watch this.
They were not going to win that series.
You remember when we watched Indiana play and it was killing people in football?
Oh yeah.
And then you said, Josh, but they ain't played.
But they hadn't played. But yeah, this is a team that played an entire season in the NBA, not a season in the Big Ten where they didn't play any of the top teams except for Ohio State.
I just think that.
Yeah, I mean, you may be right. Listen, you may be right. You may be right. You may be. I think that people are kind of sleeping. The favorite right now is New York and Oklahoma City to be in the final. Like if you bet that's the lowest odds.
Would that be fun to you?
Well, would it be fun to me? Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be fun because somebody new. What's fun to me is I'm back in the 90s with Indiana and New York playing each other. It's the 90s all over again.
That's fun.
We're the big guys.
That's
It's that I'm excited about.
Yeah,
that series.
Who
you like in that series?
I like New York. Brunson is All-American, All-World.
So like I'm on the Indiana, and this wasn't prepared or anything. Indiana is playing really well.
They are.
I mean, really well.
They are.
And I like the Knicks.
They're another one that's kind of like.
I worry about the Knicks.
Not to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No.
They're another one kind of like OKC. They got this window where I feel like, you remember the Celtics before they actually won, they just kept
Yeah, they
knocking on the door. That's Indiana. They're not going to win this one, but they're going to.
Next year, you think?
There you go.
Okay. And maybe that's a possibility. They played really well. I'm just basing off the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's no other team from the East I think has played as well.
No.
From what I've seen. Yeah. And again.
Except for New York.
If the Knicks win and they go to the finals, that is the biggest story in 30 years.
Go New York.
30 years in the state of New York.
You're right.
30 years.
You're right.
That's the biggest story.
And I'm
because
here
as
for
much
it.
as people talk about the Giants or the Jets or any of the hockey teams, basketball is still the king of New York.
So can we ordain
and they actually play in New York.
Can we ordain Jalen Brunson the new king of New York? You know they always got a king who carries the crown. It was Melo.
Yeah.
Then after Melo, it really honestly wasn't nobody. They sucked. But now they got Brunson.
Brunson is the perfect example of when someone says to you, you know that guy's not very athletic.
Yep.
You know that guy's not a great shooter.
Yep.
You know that guy's not quite tall enough.
He put the work in.
And you're like, well.
He put the work in.
Him and his dad.
He put
him and his dad, man.
They put the work in,
Him and his dad.
bro.
So you think you got Knicks and OKC.
I do.
And I think OKC wins it. I think it's a closer series. I think it's 6 or 7. And I think Indiana takes out New York.
If Anthony Edwards goes to the finals.
Yes.
They're going to have to pass the torch to the faces of the NBA. 100%.
Would you – there's a lot of times, though, he's not the best player on the team in games.
I know, but his confidence in his swag, I think it's going to be a revolutionized culture where a lot of kids are going to start playing and acting like him.
That can
be good or bad, though, bro.
If they beat OKC, I don't think the main reason will be because of him.
No,
I'm not saying he can't play bad.
No, you're not.
Okay.
No, you're not right.
Okay.
No, I think he's that seasoning to it.
He is definitely that.
Yeah, he's going
to have some games.
Yeah, he's that secret sauce. You're right. I agree. But I'm just saying it's going to catapult him. We're going to have AE5s. It's going to be more shoes, revolutionized. It's going to be different. Because I've been looking for, like, who's that torchbearer? I thought it was Giannis as one of the faces, but, like.
Well, in terms of Americans, it probably is Anthony Edwards because SGA's from Canada.
Word.
He's obviously the star of this.
Yeah.
And
Joker
and all those guys.
Joker is the best player in basketball.
Yeah.
But we're not. Maybe Europe is going crazy with swingman 4s or something. Well, he a 5. What is he? A 5? He a 5.
The positionist basketball.
Yeah, no doubt.
he's the ultimate positionist basketball.
Yeah.
Remember
he a point center.
What Mike Miller said about him.
I know.
He said he was the best player I saw. He's a joker. He's a joker.
Yeah.
Last thing, number 3 on our headlines. Yeah. And this is pretty cool. So there's voting going on in the NFL right now to approve some stuff.
Wait, one of the things for MVP.
No, this is NFL.
Okay.
Different rules, right? One of them is the tush push, another one is something else. One of them is allowing NFL players to play flag football in the 2028 Olympics. It looks like it's going to pass. Now, there's some rules.
Why wouldn't they let them?
Well, you don't want so there's injury concerns.
Okay.
So you only can have one from one team. They can have more than one from a team. They have to have league-wide insurance policies to cover them. Salary cap would be credited if the player was injured. They had to come up with a bunch of different rules. But I think it's awesome. Think about Tyreek Hill in flag football.
Impossible.
Which is just ridiculous.
He's not getting caught. Not one down.
I'm very excited about seeing – because I watched the NFL Pro Bowl.
No doubt.
And they're playing flag football. And those guys can't be caught.
Let me ask you.
This is going to be in the Olympics.
Do you like the route the Pro Bowl has went?
Actually, I do, really, because it was really bad when they were playing games and they weren't tackling each other.
Right.
At least now it's fun.
Yeah,
they have these obstacle courses and they have the tug of war.
Okay.
And then the flag football is kind of fun.
Well, I'm not trying to pivot.
I like it.
Shouldn't we do away with the dunk contest for the NBA All-Star game? And also,
here's what I would
did you like that last year's method?
Open up the dunk contest to anybody.
Okay.
Not just NBA players.
Oh, you mean from the streets?
Open up to anybody, yes.
All those guys. Yeah.
Bring on is Ann one still around? Bring those people in.
And one. Yeah.
And bring those people in and let them.
Like Team Flight Brothers and all that.
I think that would be more competitive.
Yeah.
I'm not against Mac McClung at all, but I just open it up. He doesn't play in the NBA.
No.
So let other people come in.
That's facts.
Why not?
That's facts.
All right, that's headlines. Coming up next, we'll chat Creighton adding, of course, and what's going to happen with the 25-26 season. It's here already. Jon Walker from the Omaha World-Herald will join us here on Let It Fly Show. All right, welcome back to the Let It Fly Show. We are talking Creighton and its newcomers, and who better to talk to it with the Creighton beat reporter for the Omaha World-Herald, Jon Walker. We appreciate you taking the time. How are things?
Man, it's good. We finally slowed down a little bit in the off season, as you guys know. So I'm good. I'm catching a little bit of a breath before we fully dive into the College World Series.
Oh yeah.
And downtown Omaha starts to pick up a little bit again. So I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're taping this during the Big Ten tournament. So some of the Illinois players just came in. Too. Illinois, Washington, a bunch of those different teams are downstairs getting their grub on. How long have you been in Omaha?
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to Sam McEwen about it, like a little over 18 months, which is insane to think about. I was in Stillwater, Oklahoma, covering Oklahoma State in high schools.
Oh, that's funny.
And then me and Joel, we literally swapped places.
That is funny.
Yeah.
This opened up, and obviously Joel, who did a heck of a job when he was here, went down to the Oklahoman, and he's covering a Western Conference Finals now.
Soon to be champs.
And in the league MVP with SGA, and and then I came up here, I think maybe a month later. So it was literally a trade. The World-Herald, the Oklahoman, we swapped me and Joel's rights or something like that. I guess.
How much do you pride yourself on keeping it real and getting it right versus trying to be the coach's favorite and saying the nice things about a team?
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's not what got me where I am, and that's not why the World-Herald hired me. I hope that's not why people follow me, just to echo what the coaches said or whatever. I think one of the best compliments I've gotten in my career, like writing aside, whatever. When I was down at Oklahoma State, I told Mike Boynton that I was leaving. He's the head coach. He was the head coach. Now he's an assistant on Dusty May's staff, and he DM'd me late that night, like 2 a.m. and was like, "Hey, I just wanted to thank you for covering our team fairly and accurately. I know it wasn't always easy." And I'm like, "That's the point.
Yeah.
Like that's the point."
Right.
Had similar talks with Mac and Huss now that he's here, obviously, to just kind of tell them, "Hey, that's what I'm here to do." And so it's been a fantastic 18 months in that regard. But man, I want to be right. I want to be right, man. You know what I mean? So that's like at the end of the day, I want to be right, and there are a lot of people who are right at that when it comes to different things. So I want to do it differently. I want to be right, and I want to do it differently.
Great beat reporter Jon Walker joining us here on Let It Fly Show. You know the guy before Joel was also a John, Jonathan, Jon as well. Neatawa, So there's a lot of tie-ins there.
We got a lot of J's.
A lot of J's. That is very true. Yeah, only hiring J's. What are you hearing about Ryan Kalkbrenner in terms of the draft?
Yeah, I really think he's what we would say is a fringe first-round pick. I would be shocked, utterly shocked, if he is not picked somewhere from 28 to 38.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how he could fall out of that range. I think, right or wrong, because of his age, he can't jump any higher than that. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these NBA teams aren't drafting players; they're drafting prospects. So, and that's kind of what gets lost in the wash a lot. So, whether it's right or wrong, I think it's wrong. Same thing with Baylor last year. It's like, okay, if a guy's going to be your guy for the next decade or so, what's it matter if that's 20 to 30 or if that's 23 to 33? Nah, it doesn't too much.
Right.
So that's he didn't scrimmage at the combine, didn't need to. He started 138 games at Creighton. Anything he was going to show was already on tape. Yeah. But he tested super well, especially in the shooting drills. And then he grew a quarter of an inch.
What?
Got 6 pounds heavier, and his reach is an inch longer than his first trip to the combine 2 years ago.
It's because he got married.
Yeah, because he got married.
That kind of stuff happens.
He didn't scrimmage, but by all accounts, a pretty impressive showing at the combine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for me, I'm just kind of going back to like your upbringing. To how did you get? You probably always liked sports.
Sure.
But how did you start covering it? Like, what was your break? What made you get into it?
Yeah. So I'm like 5'4", and so I think like my junior year of high school, I was like, okay, I played football and tennis.
What position in football?
I played slot receiver.
Okay.
A little bit of running back. And corner.
Okay.
So
You were a tennis player.
Yeah, and I was
a
tennis.
Serve volley guy. You play any doubles? You like the nets?
Nah, just singles.
Kind of
Loved getting up on the net though. Just a Wilson.
Okay.
Nothing too crazy. Loved getting up on the net, making people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's a game in a game. For all the tennis players out there.
Well, I love Jon McAndrew growing up. I played tennis in high school.
Okay.
So yeah.
But yeah, I think I realized probably around my junior year, like, I'm 5'4", man. like I've got to figure something out. So that was like, all right, well, I don't do much in the winter. I just lift weights for football season and wait for tennis to come around. So I bought my own mic, had my own laptop, and just started broadcasting the games like that, like just audio live stream, doing play-by-play and stuff. And went to Northwest Missouri State, and my freshman year.
They won championships.
Yeah. Oh, plenty of them. Yeah, they won plenty of them. Yeah. And my first day TV class, the professor, and not in like a bad way, it was just the fact of the matter. He said, how many, there's like 50 kids in there. And he's like, how many of you here want to be on camera? Everyone raises their hands.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, just letting you know, there are 100 people associated with a production. Only 2 are on camera. Right. Everybody was like, oh. So long story short, at the end of my freshman year, our basketball team was pretty good. I drove to Evansville, Indiana with the newspaper staff. And by the end of the trip, the newspaper guys were like, we want you to write for us. I said, okay, done. Like, you don't need, done deal. Wow. And the rest is kind of history. Never thought I'd be a writer, and I was the sports editor at the campus paper for the next 3 years, and here I am now.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We'll go back to a conversation that we were having a lot last year, but what is the eligibility status of Fedor Zukic at this point now?
Your guess is as good as mine. I'm currently we're recording this on Tuesday, May 20th. Like I'm actively working on a story trying to explain to people what the issue is.
Because we thought he had 3 years.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm just making sure I didn't get that wrong. I thought he said he had 3 years.
Right. So it doesn't make much sense that they would clear him for half a season.
Right.
Like, we waited until early or mid-December, and then he finally played, and we saw what kind of impact he could have down the stretch once he finally settled in. But all of that has seemingly been snatched away, at least for the time being.
Yeah.
I genuinely have no clue what the issue is. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it something to do with how many games he played and how much money he made?
Or is
overseas?
he really 38 years old?
Is he 38? Is it?
Dang.
Did something? There's a lot that can, not on his end, but just here, there, or the other, go wrong with the academic side. Like, is there something that didn't translate from Europe to?
Right.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I was shocked that Max seemed so pessimistic about it, because Fedor at the end of the season was hell-bent on coming back. He was so excited on coming back. So Illinois just signed, or maybe not Illinois. They have a bunch of Euro kids.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, ironically enough,
they
signed a European kid who played in the EuroLeague when he was like 14. So if he can play, I would assume Fedor Zukic has a pretty good case.
Nebraska volleyball just signed
another
girl who's
Italian,
right? These kids are technically pros. Anytime you play pro, you're pro. Whether you play 2 minutes or 20 minutes.
And once you come here, you're getting paid. Yep. You still, I think you got a semi-pro
pretty much.
Right. So with his circumstances, is there an option? So, like, option A, where it's like, you know what, man, let me just, I guess, enter the draft. And then option B is like, there got to be some type of lawsuit, like, for us to, like, push the go button on him to play. Somebody had to give that just due.
Yeah, you would.
So who's accountable?
Yeah, you would think. A large part of this last year was Ryan Miller.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Miller has a vast experience with the international kids. Like, I know the Bahamas isn't international technically, but
it's still abroad.
Right. He got Fred King here. He played a part in Francisco Farabello getting to TCU. And then obviously to Creighton and then Fedor with last year. So they're losing a little bit of that with Ryan Miller going to Murray State. But it's on Creighton's compliance, which based on Mac's comments, it sounds like they've kind of done everything on their end that they possibly can, which is disappointing.
Right.
Not on their end, obviously, but just the circumstance.
So they waiting on the Big East or the NCAA?
It sounds like they're waiting on the NCAA. That Fedor is currently in the process of appealing the unexpected decision to cut his eligibility.
My last thing on that means is more of a comment.
Mm-hmm.
That means that it can take 15 games, 2 games.
Yep.
Dang.
I
feel bad for this guy.
It could take 0 games.
Right.
From everyone I've talked to, it sounds like Fedor's confident that he has a good case for the NCAA because of so many kids in similar situations getting cleared. What's it going to look like? No clue.
He's the first man in NIL history to use his money on a lawyer. I'm playing. I'm just playing.
There's somebody taking the case. I would assume, knowing this market, there's somebody doing it pro bono.
Right.
No doubt.
Jon Walker joining us from the Omaha World-Herald talking Creighton basketball. Wild guess, how much money do you think they spent on these transfer portal guys bringing everybody in?
On the portal guys alone, probably in the $5 million-ish range.
I'm about to say you say a quarter, that ain't enough.
No.
And then with the high school, is it up to $7 million?
I would say so.
Because that's probably I think that's the threshold based on that article we were talking about.
I think so.
That's the threshold for contending, I think.
I think so. And then we'd be fools to think Jackson McAndrew didn't get a raise.
Got more money.
Yeah, right. Sure. He overachieved.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the roster is, which we couldn't waterboard this information out of anybody because Creighton's a private school.
Sure. Exactly.
Obviously. But I think it's probably in the 7.5, 8 range. Yeah. I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
Right.
You can't go get 2 of the top players in the portal and one of the top freshmen and this, that, and the other.
Right. No, that's true.
And not pay for them.
Right.
So somewhere in that range for sure.
Yeah, I'm just big on, and it's bittersweet for me, being a player of Coach Max in the past 2 years. I'm going to just say a year, 2 years, however long he's going to be there. I'm excited to see what's moving forth because there's a piece of me that I really hope Coach Huss will take Creighton in a different direction.
Sure.
And the reason why I say that is because I just feel like the culture has always been like Midwestern, D2, lower, and abroad players.
Sure.
I want to see some SEC. I want to see some ACC guys. I want to see some – I went to the and the reason why I'm saying this is I went to the Adidas 3-stripe.
Right in Council Bluffs.
I was there, and I seen some kids. And I'm looking at Coach Vanderloo in the stands. And I know he see me there. I have my kids with me, but I'm just thinking, like, ain't no way we don't go this direction in the future.
Yeah.
Because, like, the players now, man, I feel like in order to make that Final Four run, you're missing about 2 guys. One that's like a damn near lottery, and then a 4-man that I feel like can do more than just shoot threes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's 2 guys away.
I think so, too. Like, could you imagine maybe not this year because I think Auburn was just a terrible match. Like, I think Auburn was a buzzsaw as far as Creighton's concerned. But one guy away prevents an 18-0 run against Tennessee 2 years ago.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
One guy.
Takes
an 18-0 run and limits that to a 12-0 run.
Yes.
Okay, well, now you're in business.
Yeah.
So, it certainly feels that way. And Huss has a vast – not that Mac doesn't, obviously.
Yeah.
But it helps that Huss came up through the high school ranks.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He was an assistant here and obviously was successful at High Point. I think he was at I always get it mixed up. New Mexico State, UNLV, one of those two.
I think it was New Mexico State. I could be wrong though.
So he's got ties literally everywhere in the country. Yeah. So that helps.
Yeah,
obviously.
And he's one of the guys who was the driving force behind putting Mac on game about NIL and all that type of stuff. And so I just feel like he's going to do what it takes. And this is me saying it as being a homegrown kid. I want to go a different direction.
Sure.
Because Mac went a different direction from Coach Altman.
Yep.
Sure.
I mean, they're nothing alike.
Yeah.
Not as style, not as recruitment. Now, granted.
And then from the Summit, of course, to the Big East,
sure.
Had to make certain moves.
Yeah, so that pushed and
a big
helped.
part of it, yeah.
But, like, I mean, and that's no knock on Coach Altman. I feel like Coach Altman got it as far as Creighton could go at that time.
Sure.
But Coach Mack took it to a new level, and now I'm hoping that Huss finally gets us to that elite Final Four or bust energy level.
Yeah. And I think they've slowly crept up on that. Like nowadays, really, I'd say it probably started with the 1920 team with Marcus, with Tyshawn, with those guys. Like, it's kind of second weekend or bust. Like, if they don't make the second weekend, you know, everybody's like, oh, man, what are we going to do?
I know.
It's like, guys, when Dana Altman was here, they would have killed to make the second weekend. You know what I mean?
I was a part of it.
And so now here we go in that gradual process where they were a small Midwestern program. Well, then you have the transition to the Big East, and now you're not just a small Midwestern program anymore. You know, you're a perennial contender in the Big East.
For sure.
And now it's, okay, we're an NCAA tournament mainstay, and now you need to contend for Final Fours.
Let me ask you this real fast. Sorry.
Go ahead.
What separates UConn from Creighton?
Public funding.
Okay.
Public funding.
And where they're located.
Sure.
I mean,
for sure.
The East
for
back
sure.
that side of the country has got so much talent.
Sure.
You should be able to pull guys from the Carolinas up through Maine. You should be able to pull guys.
Absolutely. So that and just the you know, the pedigree, like UConn before this run has won national championships.
Sure.
And it's so easy to go say, hey, you want to be a part of our next national championship?
Yeah.
As opposed to pitching, can you help us try and win our first?
But they went back to back.
They did go back to back.
That's different.
That's incredible.
In that second year, they just ran through people.
The
tournament was
we were there.
Weren't we there?
Yep.
Yeah.
You kept thinking. Eventually, somebody. You're like, no.
Creighton got him in February, and that was it.
That was it.
Right.
That was it for the rest of the year. So, but that's the biggest thing to me. Like, Mac has shown that he can obviously coach with Hurley.
Yeah. For sure.
Like, so maybe the talent, obviously because of the region, but public funding. Like, it's a public school, so that means you have a bigger alumni base than Creighton does.
I didn't know
and,
it was
and that means it's the only one in the Big East.
Okay.
And so then you have a lot more people to contribute to NIL and this, that, and the other. So yeah, public funding.
I gotta hit the lottery,
school.
bro. So
I'm telling you,
the team you need to worry about though going forward is St. John's. I'm just saying that's what you got to worry about. Yeah. Let's talk about some of these guys they're adding, and maybe they can get them to that point.
For sure.
Josh Dix right over in Council Bluffs at AL. What do you think he brings to what Creighton? And how much do you think? I mean, before that, how much did the defense change because Kalkbrenner's gone, and where does a guy like Dix kind of fit into that?
Yeah, the defense is going to change drastically, and Greg McDermott already talked about that. Alan Huss has talked about it a little bit. The fact of the matter is, when you lose a 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year,
it's only happened once before.
It's going to be different, right? Especially when that guy but Ryan Kalkbrenner's identity is not as a big-bodied, like 1v1 eraser. Right. You know what I mean? Like, no, he has such a presence, such a feel for the paint, rotates extremely well. His 7'6" wingspan helps him get to a lot of shots that other people can't.
Right.
So it's not like Ryan was like just this bully.
Yep.
So it was different than a lot of places. Like Auburn, for example. They ran a 2-big lineup with Janai Broom at the 4 and Dylan Cardwell at the 5. Okay, well, Janai can roam a little bit because Dylan's the big bully on the block. And Creighton didn't really have that. That wasn't Kalk's game. So it'll be different, no doubt. That's not Owen Freeman's game, as you guys know. So it'll be different. They'll probably have to be better man defenders. That was one of the biggest priorities for me in my eyes entering this offseason is you were going to have to go get a big regardless, obviously. In addition to that, I thought they needed to go get a lockdown perimeter defender to supplement Jason Green.
Right.
Because long gone of the days are the days of funnel him into the 7-footer.
Yes.
It's not Owen Freeman's game. He's a good defender in his own right. But that's not his game.
That's because it's positionless basketball.
Exactly. So the defense will entirely change. Where Josh Dix fits into that, I think he can be one of those perimeter guys.
I saw him against Nebraska. He can. I tell you, he can. That's a bro.
That dude's a bro. There were points in that Nebraska game where they like suck him on they stuck him on Bryce Williams.
Yeah, yep.
And Bryce, as good of a scorer he is, couldn't do much.
Wow.
And he rotated a little bit too, but that's what I went back and watched was the Nebraska tape.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was impressed by, one, he scored like 30 that
His
game.
handle
Yeah,
that
it's
game
ridiculous.
was,
And two, his ability to switch defensively. So that'll help, obviously, on the perimeter. But Josh is as advertised, I would say.
Okay.
I talked to his coach at AL, and he said, it's no surprise that Josh had the season he did last year at Iowa. Mm-hmm. It was only a matter of time. And I said, okay, well, why? And he said, well, his senior year, he, I think, broke his leg, or he had a leg injury. Mm-hmm. And they were like, we're going to redshirt you your freshman year, take your time. And he worked to get back for his freshman year.
Right.
He played limited minutes. But Josh and his coach said this is probably the first season where he felt like himself after that significant leg injury.
Gotcha.
That, coupled with an expanded role at Iowa, he was one of the best players in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Was certainly one of Iowa's best players, along with Owen Freeman. So I think he gives them that veteran backcourt presence, can play the 2, can play the 3, depending on the matchup and obviously the lineup.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of his game. Huge fan of the mid-range pull-up.
Yeah.
He has a little bit of
that's a lost art.
The way Jemiah would walk people down.
Yeah.
Josh Dix has a little bit of that. Yeah. And the rise ability.
You think it's better or the same? Because Jemiah was I feel
Jemiah
like
was cold, man.
I think Jemiah always had that in him, but coming from Arizona State, I think he uses athleticism way more than his actual skill package. Came to Creighton, and then it eventually came a confidence.
Yep.
Right when it was the end of the season.
Yep. And that's kind of what Jemiah said. That's what he told me in Lexington. So I think it's probably better than Jemiah's, I would say.
Jemiah's a looser with the ball. I don't know
think
what their
so
turnover
too.
numbers.
Yeah. Right.
Just watching them both, I think he's a little looser.
But Josh's handle is the
His
difference.
handle's
I really do. He keeps the ball on a string at any given moment.
Very impressive. Jon Walker joining us from the Omaha World-Herald. So we kind of talked about Owen Freeman a little bit. So I know he shot a little bit from 3 and got a little bit better. Do you think that's something we'll see a little bit more?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Kalk shot, 3 or 4 games?
Yeah. I think
would say
so.
3.
Yeah, I think Owen Freeman will. I think that's an integral part of Creighton's offense.
Yep. You got to shoot it.
No matter who's at the 5.
Right.
Like if you go back to Gregory Echenike. Right. Like, did he shoot a couple?
He stretched them, but we had Raggi and McDermott.
Yeah,
we didn't have to
right.
Yeah.
So, but it was still a 5 out.
It was a 5 out.
It
was a 5 out.
You have to be a threat of some sort at the 5 to play in Mac's offense.
Right.
So that's. I think he'll have more opportunities to shoot than he did at Iowa.
Yeah.
And I think with the confidence that you get, a guy like Jemiah Neal being the perfect example.
Right.
I think with that confidence and as it grows, he'll develop into a more potent shooter.
Yeah, right. Because he'll get attempts he never got before.
Exactly.
With Creighton's offense.
This is one of the biggest things that I, because again, I've only been here 18 months. This is one of the biggest things that opened my eyes to the efficiency of Mac's offense over the past few years. In particular, bringing in so many transfers. As Jemiah Neal told me this season, I can't remember when. It was toward the end for sure.
Okay.
I was for 3 years. I played at a place where I had to create the offense.
He did.
Now, the offense creates for me.
Right.
I was whoa,
it's a good line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's when it clicked. Like, okay, you can watch it for 30 games a season, and you can hear this guy talk about it, and Mac is obviously going to talk about it. But when you have a 1-year transfer come in and take as big of a jump as Jemiah did, and he says something like that, that's the type of thing that makes you step back and go, oh, okay, this will work. This will work.
And I like the approach he took to it, or his situation, because I feel like if he had the offense create for him, then he would never be the guy to ever create for himself.
Yep.
So it was great that it was like the perfect order.
Absolutely.
It worked out really well for everybody. And it worked out even better that he took this game to that level with Pop going out.
Yep.
Because I think when Pop went out, people were like, well, that's it. That's the season.
I was looking at it like this. I was looking at it like, damn, pop out. I feel like Jemiah can hoop, but he just ain't comfortable.
I know.
I wasn't sold at a point. You know?
Even after what he had, 22, 24 against Notre Dame in Vegas.
Uh-huh.
And I remember, like, being on the plane ride back.
But that was him playing like ASU.
Uh-huh.
You know?
I was, like, writing a little bit, and I was like, okay.
I wasn't sold, bro.
Because at that point they still had Pop.
I know.
Yeah. I was like, okay, the whole ordeal was can they have a solid third option? Is that going to be Pop? Is it going to be Jemiah?
Exactly.
Who's it going to be? And obviously a week later, Pop's ruled out for the year, and so it's like, okay, really, genuinely, if this team's going to be anything, they need Jemiah Neal to be a legit third option. And over time, he certainly developed into one.
You know some. Oh, sorry.
You go ahead.
I was going to say. I knew Pop was going to bounce, bro.
Oh, yeah. Well, I watched Pop walk into a game and not be very happy about being there at all. And not exactly. Omaha's not for everybody.
No, right.
Yeah. Say Omaha is not for everybody. I tell you that all the time.
Just think about this. Ryan Nembhard.
It's not an easy place to be.
Pop Isaacs. There's like certain players that I just feel like I'm trying to figure out. And, you know, like, I'm from the inner city here.
Sure.
And for me, I'll be trying to relate to the reason why they leave. And I'm thinking like, man, if they had a bigger bag, they would stay. Or I don't know if it's just the culture. I'm trying to figure that out.
I know.
I don't even think it's just I don't know, bro.
And it's so tough because, you know, whether it's Creighton or Pop, whether it's you know, Nebraska and Peyton Sanford, whatever combo of school player you want to match. Like nowadays, you're speed dating in the portal.
Oh yeah,
like
quickly,
and you guys know that.
No
it's
doubt.
like okay, let's use Creighton for example. This offseason, like obviously, you could talk to Iowa players a little sooner because they had a coaching change, so they didn't necessarily have to wait for the portal to open per se. So Creighton had their season ended Saturday. I think Owen Freeman was on campus Monday.
Damn.
Or Tuesday, either Monday or Tuesday.
Wow.
So like that's how quick the priorities are nowadays. Because you want to go get this kid.
Yeah.
Try and figure out if he's a good fit. Try and figure out if he on the court. Try and figure out if he's a good fit for your program.
Right.
Try and come up with the money to get him.
Yep. Right.
And get him before somebody else does. You're trying to do all of that simultaneously. And so it is essentially speed dating.
Yeah.
So sometimes things get lost in translation there.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. But let's say a guy like Pop Isaacs, comes to Omaha for a visit and they're like, yeah, this is it. And then they get here and they're here for a couple months and they're like, maybe Omaha's not for me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what happened here.
Or obviously, like I'd be a fool, I'm assuming here, which I hate doing, but I'd be a fool to think that the season-ending injury didn't derail, his mentality and how he felt toward Omaha.
For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it played a part. It played a part.
It would have to. It would have to. I talked to his dad.
He couldn't even find a consistent braider, bro.
Right.
I know.
I talked to his dad in December, I think. I did a pretty big story on Pop. I talked to him when I was out in Vegas and then talked to his dad again in December and throughout the back half of the season. And his dad was adamant that he wanted to be back. So I don't know exactly what changed. But, his dad just kept saying, well, if everything lines up, like Pop wants to be back. Pop would love to be back. Yeah. So it sounds like Pop wanted to be back. Creighton wanted him back. Both of them had terms that they wanted that agreement to happen on, and they didn't meet those terms.
That makes sense, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
John Walker joining us from Omaha World-Herald. Let's get some of the other guys. So Blake Harper, this little kid right here.
Okay.
My cousin was his AAU coach.
Okay.
Let's talk about him. I mean,
small world.
You come in. It is. It's very weird.
That is crazy.
All I did was I reached out. I go, hey, I'm assuming you know this kid. He goes, he's my god kid. I was like, oh yeah, great. So let's go through. So I love DC players.
Okay.
DC kids. I love their mentality. They're tough. They'll take your watch.
I was born in Baltimore, so.
Where are you at? So now I'm not as big a fan of the Baltimore guys as I am the DC guys.
You like Tank Davis?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Come on now.
I like Bud Crawford.
Okay.
But I like Tank Davis too.
I say Baltimore. So what do you think about bringing him in? Where does he kind of fit in the mix?
Yeah, it's a very, very low risk, high reward acquisition. Yeah. I don't think Creighton broke the bank to go get him. He didn't have a lot of high major suitors in the portal for whatever reason.
He's not overly athletic.
No. So his final four were Creighton, LSU, Ohio State. He didn't visit either of those two. And then a return to Howard. That was his final four. Because people didn't know if his athleticism would punch up to the next level. A big part of his game was driving to the rim.
Yep.
And the question is, can you drive in the Big East for 20
games
a different drive. Like you do the MEAC? Well, I don't know.
Yeah. You might be pinning kicking.
Exactly.
Maybe. But I'm gonna say this kid went to high school in D.C.
Right.
We gonna see. I know. That's your people.
This kid is tough.
I know that's your people.
Right.
But I feel where you come from.
That's the uncertainty. But he's also like 6'7", 210.
Yeah.
I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Especially
45% shooter. 40 from the field.
He's a hooper.
30. He's a hooper, man.
He won MEAC Player of the Year as a freshman.
But then I guess to your point, but he's kind of smaller. So Sharif Mitchell, Omaha Burke, his defense was there, but his offense really didn't translate to the Big East.
Okay.
But when he went to Ohio, he was more comfortable shooting. But it was by his athleticism there to do it.
Right.
I still think even in the Big East, I think coming from D.C. is a different type of heart. I do agree. I think that like what you were trying to say about the options of schools that he would try to play at, I feel like the reason why Creighton potentially was the best fit is because of the spread offense.
Yep.
That's it.
He can drive.
Yes.
Like the lanes are open.
Exactly.
He can slash.
Yep. So it makes up for a clogged lane if you're playing. Because to be honest, like that Big Ten methodical.
It's very physical in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's slower. So maybe one-on-one they didn't see it the same that Creighton could see it.
No.
Yeah. I think he made a great choice.
I'm following you is what I'm trying to say.
I think he made a great choice coming here.
I think so.
Baton Rouge is not good for anybody. I know that for a fact. It is not good for anybody. And then, of course, Columbus is
crazy, dude.
I'm just, dude, Baton Rouge, I'm from New Orleans.
Okay.
You trying to figure out the connection.
I like no Baton Rouge.
I didn't know if you had beef with Jalen Courtney Williams.
That was my boy. No, we were good. We were cool. It's just that it's like Baton Rouge is I can't even explain it. Let's go to Nick. So far, this state has done pretty well bringing guys from Charlotte. Okay, so far I'm gonna say bring guys from Charlotte. You do okay. Well, Bryce came from Charlotte, and now they brought this kicker. Nebraska just brought a kicker in from Charlotte too.
The state.
We'll see how it goes.
About the team.
From Charlotte. From Charlotte, the team. Yes. So Nick Graves coming in.
Yeah.
Again, good numbers.
Yeah.
Point guard.
Yes, he will. Not. I say this not one for one. Obviously, he'll be the Stephen Ashworth replacement. Yeah. He'll be your veteran. Solid ball handling point guard. That's kind of what he was brought in to do, and if I've learned anything through my first 2 years on the beat, he's going to play like 32, 33 minutes a game.
Game manager.
Man, Mac plays minutes.
I am a huge, and I said this when they signed him, I'm a huge fan of the roster construction aspect of bringing in Nick Graves, a 1-year veteran point guard who can run the offense, who can drive the lane, distribute, shoot a little bit, obviously.
Yeah.
But more importantly, kind of open the door for more Ty Davis minutes.
No doubt.
Because this is kind of the time where you need to see, like, can Ty Davis be the guy next
year? Can he go or no?
Right. And he showed flashes of that. Yeah. Again, didn't have a lot of opportunity last year because Stephen Ashworth played like 40 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Twisted ankle game. Yeah. Twisted ankle game when he came in. Yeah,
right. So
he wasn't out of his depth.
No. So Ty showed flashes, but he'll have even more opportunity to show this year whether he can be the guy moving forward or not. And I think a large part of that is because of what Nick Graves brings.
Yeah, but I just think sometimes when you're in those scenarios, it's real easy to recruit over you because it's unless you make a drastic jump.
Yep.
We wouldn't even got a Nick Graves if there was another level from then to Shoot, I mean, really, like you said, it's speed dating.
Right.
It's like you looking at a product right now, not the potential no more.
Yeah. I know.
NIL is kind of tough.
Yep.
So I'm not saying that like he can't, be loyal and keep playing a role, but like I just feel like his contribution will be the same to me personally.
Sure.
That's just me.
And that's kind of. Like, I think it's fair to assume that going like here on May 20th. It's fair to assume that.
No doubt.
So that's kind of what, like, he'll have the opportunity to.
Right. But he is next man up and ready.
Absolutely.
If something happens.
Absolutely.
So I'm not knocking him.
Absolutely. So for all-encompassing, because of the immediate future and the long term, I'm a huge fan of the Nick Graves acquisition.
For sure.
The guy that has the least amount of minutes and tape is Austin Schwartz out of Miami.
Yeah. It's somewhat hard to evaluate him because Austin, much like Jemiah a year ago, came from just an absolutely broken.
It was
broken program.
Yeah. So like Jim Larinaga retired the day after Christmas, or like. What a mess.
I know. Right.
So, like, Miami made a Final Four a couple of years ago.
I know.
And they just had, like, 9 wins this season or something like that. And, something atrocious.
Yeah.
So, it's somewhat hard to evaluate him. From the tape that there is, it's way different than the player he was in high school.
Gotcha.
They turned him into more of a kind of spot-up shooter. Like, hey, if you have a 3, take it type of guy. Which, lets you see the potential in Creighton's offense.
Right.
But it didn't really showcase what else he can do.
Right.
I think, especially if Fedor Zugic is not cleared, that Austin could have a huge role.
Yep.
In that the 2/3 could be between him and Hudson Greer.
Yep.
So we'll just see what happens. And obviously, if you add Fedor into that, now you got a pretty deep roster. Like, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Well, take Fedor out of it. Could this be the starting 5? Dix, Graves, Green, Freeman, McAndrew?
That would be my starting 5 right now, even if Fedor was cleared.
Even if he was, he'd be your 6th man.
He would, because I think Fedor could come as the first person off the bench and be the Big East 6th man of the year.
He plays like that, though.
That's what I'm saying.
He did a little bit last year.
So I think Fedor is a guy where obviously he'd fit in the starting lineup, but I really think a guy like that would thrive as the leader of a second unit.
Scroll up a little bit.
I just really do.
1, 2, 3. Okay, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Yeah. I see. It's a 2-part question. Okay. One, we see Jason Green right now as a 3, and we got Owen Freeman as a 4. Those two can be interchangeable, would you say, defensively? Can Owen play the 3 defensively?
Yeah, I think so. I think his footwork's good enough. I think he slides his feet well enough.
Right.
It depends on the 3. If it's like, let's see, trying to think of who's a really good Big East 3 last year.
Last year, McNeely played the 3.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I don't know if Owen Freeman could keep up with.
No doubt.
I don't know many people who keep up with
thing,
McNeely. Right, but certainly I could see Jason Green playing the 5 in a small lineup.
Yeah. So that's my question. Mm-hmm. The 4 is the deepest position in the last 3 years of Creighton.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
What's up with Isaac Trout and all the other people that are in this 4th spot? And what's that 4th spot rotation going to look like? Is it short or is it long?
I mean, Isaac shot well last year for parts of the season.
Isaac did.
And he got in shape for it,
He got in shape. And so that's kind of the, 2 years ago, his first season at Creighton, he played some small ball, 5.
He was uncomfortable.
Fred King was not on the floor.
Right.
And Isaac Trout, unknowingly, unexpectedly, on a moment's notice, had to start playing some 5.
Yeah,
and that's not what. That's why he came here, not to play that.
Right,
he was escaping that.
Right, literally.
Escaping that.
If he wanted to play a floor spacing small ball 5, he would have just stayed in Virginia. He was uncomfortable.
Right,
of course he was.
Yeah.
But why couldn't he do? Why couldn't he play the 5 or why couldn't he play the 3 in a weird lineup with IT, McAndrew, and Jason Green? You know what I mean? There's as the roster stands, there's so many possibilities.
Yeah. But I finished the season 38.4%.
That's what I'm saying.
He was the best out of all the guys with minutes.
Can you keep a guy like that off the floor?
No, you can't.
So I think this roster is so deep.
Yeah.
And I think that's a product of what's happened the past 2 years. Like, they've run into 2 SEC teams, and that's been the end of the season.
Yeah.
Dang, you're right.
So Tennessee had a thorough
matchup
roster.
purposes.
Tennessee was bringing people off the bench, and they were scoring at will. You know what I mean? This year, Pettiford came off the bench at Auburn, and he cooked.
Right.
So it's when you can have a 6th, 7th, 8th man who can do that.
Right.
Let's say this year that's Fedor, Blake Harper, Isaac Trout as your 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Like, now you're talking.
Right.
Like, anyone can buy a solid starting 5 in today's landscape, can you buy a 6, 7, 8?
I'm telling you,
Do
man.
you have enough
and
money
keep 'em here.
Yep.
2 guys away.
Yep.
Those positions you talking about is what I feel like.
Yep.
No matter who we match up with in March, it won't matter.
It's like you said, it's almost like a go-getter.
Yep.
Almost.
Yep.
Like a Trey Alexander.
Exactly.
We need a bucket.
Yes.
Here's the ball.
Yes.
Go get a bucket.
Get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just like you said, a swing man on the wing who can do a little bit more than shoot.
Yeah.
I think that's Jackson McAndrew.
He just kind of scratched the surface. I
think
his confidence.
I don't think we have seen.
It's gonna be McAndrew instead of McDermott. He's gonna be the new Doug. I'm telling you, when I played with Doug started like that. And I was impressed with his game because I was confused because he couldn't guard nobody in practice as a freshman, but nobody could guard him. Yeah. And so we start like keying things around him, and he had a nice touch, and he was highly efficient when he scored around the basket, and his clip was high from 3. And then he started doing extra things on his own when we needed a bucket.
Right.
And then progressed from there. And I see McAndrew playing just like Doug.
I think I'm not gonna. I obviously wasn't here, so I'm not gonna get too far ahead of myself.
Yeah.
I think that might be where Jackson has Doug at this point in their careers, where Doug was obviously and where Jackson is, because
Doug couldn't dribble as a freshman.
Jackson exponentially grew as a defender as the season went on.
Yeah.
I remember when they played Butler in the final game of the regular season, he switched on to Jamil Telfer for the last possession.
I remember.
and I don't think it was after that game, but maybe it was, or the availability after. Max said, if you would have told me, he said, if you would have told me 3 months ago that in the last game of the regular season, game on the line, I switched Jackson McAndrew onto Jamil Telfer, I would have thought you were crazy as Jon Walker. Like, I was like, all right, come on, I catch you straight. But he grew so much as a defender, and that was when I talked to Mac a year ago, early May. I was like, how excited are you for Jackson? He said, well, we got to get him to defend. Like, we got to put a little size on him, and we've got to get him to defend. Right. I said, okay. So he did both of those things, and I'm assuming the size part will come this offseason. But the offensive bag is there. We just saw the very beginning of it last season as a spot-up shooter.
Right.
But he's a really fun offensive piece that I can't wait to see.
He's swashbuckling.
He's definitely a better athlete.
He take one to give one.
He's a better athlete than Doug. He's a better athlete than Doug.
He is a better athlete than Doug.
Yeah,
I'll give him that.
Okay.
He's a little better athlete. But
Yeah. I think
Doug's only the greatest player in BE's history.
I think Doug, the last thing I'll say about Doug is Doug never thrived over athleticism. No. That wasn't his game.
Right.
I think Jackson is thriving off of like his confidence. I think we put Doug in positions to get a bucket.
Sure.
I think Jackson is making his own buckets early. That is why I kind of see.
He definitely can.
You know, so.
Last thing before we let you go.
Please.
Final four?
Dude, you never know. You never know. Here's the thing. And you guys know this, obviously. With Mac's system and what they do, if you live by the 3 and die by the 3, when you're making them, you're living right.
Yeah.
Depending on the draw, you're living right.
Right.
Yeah. And then you could have an 18-0 run. You could give up an 18-0 run to Tennessee, and you could give up I don't know what it was this year, but like 16-2 nothing run to Auburn.
Yeah.
And that could be the end of your season.
Right.
So I don't know. A MAC team is always going to be capable of the Final Four because of the shooting.
I can't deny his offense, his coaching, and his principles. Creighton does not foul.
Nope.
Creighton can shoot, and they're well coached.
Yep.
They always got a chance.
Yep.
No doubt.
So that's the thing. Could they make a Final Four? Sure.
I respect that.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
It wasn't coulda, shoulda, woulda back then. It was there. No way it's gonna happen.
That's what I'm saying.
Now you can at least say could.
Exactly.
You're right.
So
you're right.
And then it all comes down to the draw.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get Princeton in the Sweet 16 or whatever it might be.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.
Of course.
Thank you for coming. It was nice talking to you.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Jon Walker covering Creighton. Don't Let It Fly show. All right, welcome back to the Let It Fly show. Appreciate Jon Walker coming in.
His perspective is good.
It is.
I like his perspective.
And I've always believed this, and maybe because I was one, I believe outsiders bring a whole new feel to the sports, right?
That's real.
Because he comes in, there's like a lot of the people who cover Nebraska football, born, raised here, Nebraska fans. When I came here and started doing radio, I was like, look, I don't have any background with these guys. All I know is I lost a bet for $15 when he went for 2 in '84, and I'm still mad about it because I should have won a national championship. But so I like that. You bring a different perspective in. And when you've traveled and seen how it's done other places, I think it helps you a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think.
Plus, he looks like Austin Eckler a little bit.
Yeah, I think just his perspective is good because, like you said, it's a fresh face.
Yep.
It's not from the city. And he's looking to get it right.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing that I appreciate about it. And it's not like I'm looking for something bad to happen with Creighton. It's just there's always this point in the season where I feel like there's, with every single college sport, blind optimists. And like they just they skip what needs to be talked about because they're so focused on the optimism of the program.
Problem with that is, and this is me 25 years doing this, fans want, a lot of times they want that blind optimism. They want you to tell them all the good and not talk about the bad. They want to hear what the positive thing is and not the negative. Not everybody, but the majority of fans, that's what they want, a homer.
No doubt.
They do. They want a homer. That's why, what's crazy is newspapers a lot of times would actually sell more when they lost. When a team lost, they would sell more newspapers.
Okay.
People are tuning in to see what went wrong, right? Tuning went wrong. On the internet, however, it gets higher when they win. People want to know what's going right. So it all depends on the population, how old somebody is, what they like, and their background with it. It's a unique thing. You got a heck of a balance to be a columnist or a beat reporter in this city.
And I guess the besides just the keeping it real aspect, I just think it's weird that like people, they say what they really feel off of the internet, and then when somebody tell them what they really thinking or say what they know is true, they argue it.
They get mad.
That's weird, dude.
Well, that's our society now. He just booted that ball.
Right.
Nebraska baseball player.
And then guys like him got jobs where it's like you kind of got to not necessarily walk on eggshells, but it's like how far and how real can you keep it if you really want to have a rapport with the team?
I always tell them.
Sensitive too.
I always tell them. I always tell everybody who gets in the business, I tell them the same thing. I say, be you. Do what you're supposed to do. Do your job. Your job. You have one assignment as a journalist.
Okay.
You have one assignment.
Yeah, what's that?
And that is to tell the truth.
Right.
If you tell the truth based off of what you know, people can get mad at you all you want. Yeah. All I'm doing is telling the truth.
It is what it is. It's the truth.
I did my research. I'm telling the truth. That's all you can do.
Right.
Again, special thanks to Jon Walker from the Omaha World-Herald. Special thanks to Caleb for running the show well, for taking care of all of that and making sure the sound works this week. Again, our sponsor of the show is Bud Light. We appreciate them. They make everything
easy, man.
Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light. We appreciate them being a sponsor.
Easy Boxing.
Easy Boxing.
I can't wait.
Easy Boxing is coming.
Canelo.
It's now a Saturday and not a Friday.
I know. You know, something I was thinking about with that is, and see, I don't want to be that guy on this part because I'm biased, but I just think, I think Bud can dominate this.
What I told you, man. Give me all that plus money. Keep putting more plus money on Bud.
I know.
So I can bet him and then bet that 9 through 10, 9, 10, 11, 2 for a stoppage, too.
No doubt.
So not about that. So we appreciate you. Again, if you are following us, YouTube, subscribe and like, whether it's Spotify, wherever you're listening,
Apple,
Amazon, all of those, like and subscribe. We'd appreciate that. Josh, take us away.
Hey, Josh Jones here with Michael Sevier. You know what we do. It's a Let It Fly show.